Good evening and welcome to the Sleepy Story, your faithful companion each night, here to guide you into a world of calm and beautiful dreams. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening. I'm delighted to be your companion on this peaceful journey toward restful sleep, filled with tranquility and comfort. Tonight, we'll journey far away, across sandy deserts and vibrant cities, into a classic tale brimming with wonder and adventure, the story of Aladdin, a beautiful tale of courage, love, and dreams, guiding us toward hope and sincerity. This story is the perfect companion for your night, helping you ease into the softness and serenity of rest. Take a slow, deep breath in and gently exhale. Allow yourself to feel each word, each rhythm of this story. Let your mind flow like the soft desert sands carried by the evening breeze. Right now, there's nothing you need to do but enjoy this moment. Release any weight and feel peace enveloping you, slowly guiding you toward the world of dreams. Now, let's begin tonight's adventure with Aladdin, a humble young man with a big heart who discovers magical powers within his simple life. With each inhale, let calmness settle within you, and with each exhale, release any lingering tension. There's nothing to worry about now. Slowly, let your imagination drift to the warm, bright city of Agrabah, where this story begins. Imagine the gentle touch of the night embracing you, bringing calm and comfort. Let's step together into Aladdin's world, ready to welcome a night full of sweet dreams and heartwarming magic. In a land far away, under the blue sky and blazing sun, stands the city of Agrabah, a bustling city full of life. The city is located on the edge of a vast desert, surrounded by rolling sand dunes and the occasional palm tree visible in the distance. The city thrives on bustling and colorful markets, where traders from all over the world come bearing their wares, from sparkling silks to gold jewelry to fragrant spices whose aroma can be smelled from afar. In one of the humble corners of the city, there stood a small house that barely stood out among the other larger buildings. In that house lived a young man named Aladdin and his mother. Aladdin is not of noble birth or the son of a rich merchant. He was just the son of a simple tailor who died several years ago. Aladdin's father used to work hard, hoping to provide a better life for his family. However, fate said otherwise, and now Aladdin and his mother only rely on luck to survive every day. Since childhood, Aladdin has been used to living within limitations. Without a father who is the backbone of the family, Aladdin has to help his mother to earn a living. However, Aladdin is not a young man who works hard. He prefers to spend time outdoors, wandering around the market or adventuring on city streets. Often he does naughty things just to have fun, although it is not uncommon for him to do it out of necessity. One of his bad habits was stealing food at the market when he was hungry and didn't have a penny. Even so, Aladdin is not a truly evil young man. Behind his mischievous behavior, there is a good heart and empathy towards others. He never stole large amounts or hurt others. He only took a little, just to fill his hungry stomach or help his sick mother. For him, life is a matter of survival in the midst of adversity, and he does what he can to get through it. That morning, Aladdin woke up from his sleep on a thin mattress. The sunlight shining through the small window in his room made him blink. He saw his mother busy cooking a simple breakfast with the leftover food they had. His mother's face looked tired, but she still smiled when she saw Aladdin wake up from his sleep. "Aladdin, are you awake?" his mother asked softly, her voice full of warmth although a little tired. "Yes, Mother," answered Aladdin while stretching his body, which still felt stiff. He then sat on the floor, facing his mother who served dry bread and a little water for their breakfast. "Aladdin, maybe today you can try to find a job in the market. Who knows, there may be traders who need help lifting goods or tidying up their merchandise," said his mother in a hopeful tone. Aladdin just nodded, even though in his heart he felt lazy. Working in the market was not something he wanted, but he also didn't want to disappoint his mother. After finishing a simple breakfast, Aladdin was ready to leave. He wore clothes that were worn out, but comfortable enough to wear around the city. Before leaving, he saw his mother smiling at him, a smile full of hope that her son could bring home a little money to buy food. Aladdin walked down the city streets, which were starting to get busy. He saw people passing by. Most of them were traders carrying their wares to the market. Along the road, Aladdin also saw several small children running around happily, while mothers were busy shopping or chatting with neighbors. The atmosphere in the city of Agrabah is always lively and colorful, even though most of the population lives in simplicity. When he arrived at the market, Aladdin was amazed to see the goods displayed by the traders. There were soft and colorful silk fabrics, mouth-watering fresh fruits, and jewelry that glistened in the sun. Aladdin walked from one stall to another, looking at the items for sale with great curiosity, even though he knew that he couldn't afford anything. In one corner of the market, he saw a fruit seller selling fresh and juicy red apples. Aladdin's stomach suddenly growled, reminding him that he only had a little bread for breakfast this morning. The hunger he felt made him tempted to take one of the apples, even though he knew that his action was wrong. With a quick movement, Aladdin took an apple and ran away before the merchant could realize it. He ran through the crowd of people in the market, until finally stopping in a small alley behind the market. There, he sat down and began to bite the apple hungrily, tasting the sweetness of the fruit, which seemed to relieve the hunger he felt. However, while he was enjoying the apple, Aladdin saw a small child who looked hungry walking towards him. The child looked at the apple held by Aladdin with eyes full of hope. Seeing that gaze, Aladdin felt moved. He knew how difficult it was to live in this city, and he could feel what the child felt. Without thinking, Aladdin shared his apple with the child. The little boy smiled broadly and immediately ate the apple slice that Aladdin gave him. Seeing the child smile, Aladdin felt his heart warm. He felt happy even though he could only provide a little help. In his heart, he knows that happiness does not always come from having lots of possessions, but from being able to make other people smile. After that, Aladdin continued his journey in the market, trying to find work as his mother asked him to. However, almost every merchant he met already had assistants or workers, and none needed his help. Even though he felt disappointed, Aladdin still tried not to give up. He walked from one stall to another, hoping someone would give him a chance. When the sun started to rise and the temperature got hotter, Aladdin felt tired. He decided to rest under a big tree at the edge of the market. From where he sat, he could see the never-ending bustle of the city. He thought about the life he lived, full of limitations and uncertainty. However, even though his life is difficult, he feels grateful because he still has his mother, the only person he loves and who is always there for him. While sitting under the tree, Aladdin looked up at the vast sky. He imagined what it would be like to live as a rich person, having a big house, delicious food, and beautiful clothes. He knew that the dream felt far from reality, but he still kept hope in his heart. Maybe one day, his fate will change and he can provide a better life for himself and his mother. That day, Aladdin returned home bringing nothing but the experiences and hopes he kept in his heart. His mother welcomed him with a smile, even though she knew that Aladdin had not succeeded in finding a job. They had a simple dinner, only bread and a few vegetables. However, even though they live in simplicity, they both feel happy because they still have each other. That night, Aladdin lay on his thin bed thinking about the day he had gone through. He closed his eyes, imagining a better life and the adventures that awaited him in the future. In his heart, he felt that one day, something big would change his life. And without him realizing it, fate had prepared an unexpected path for him. A journey full of magic and adventure that will make him become a person he never imagined before. One quiet afternoon, when Aladdin was walking through the market after helping his mother clean the house, he met a very strange old man. The man looked different from the people he usually met in Agrabah. His appearance was shabby, but there was something striking in his eyes. His gaze was sharp, attentive, and as if he was observing Aladdin's every move. The man wore a long, dark robe that covered most of his body, and under the shadow of the hood covering his head, there was a faint but cold smile. When Aladdin passed the old man, the man suddenly greeted him with a deep and mysterious voice. "Young man, are you the one named Aladdin?" he asked, looking directly into Aladdin's eyes. Aladdin was surprised to hear his name mentioned by a stranger. He felt a little anxious, because it was rare for people to know him, especially in the crowd of the market. With a wary attitude, Aladdin answered, "Yes, I'm Aladdin." "Who are you, and how do you know my name?" The old man smiled, a smile that looked strange and made Aladdin feel uncomfortable. However, there was something that kept Aladdin from leaving. "I am my uncle," said the old man in a tone full of confidence. "I've been looking for my family in Agrabah for a long time, and I didn't expect to find you here. You are the son of my brother, who died many years ago." Hearing those words, Aladdin became confused. All this time, he knew that he had no living uncle or father's siblings. However, this old man sounded so convincing. His high curiosity made him keep listening. "You don't believe it?" asked the old man, smiling again. "Your father and I once lived together in a faraway country before I decided to migrate. When I heard the news of his death, I was determined to go back and help his family. I want to make sure that you live well, Aladdin." Aladdin felt touched and surprised to hear the man's story. He always felt lonely without a father figure, and his mother never told him much about his father's family. Now, a man who claims to be his uncle comes with a story about the past. "Is it true that you are my father's uncle?" asked Aladdin carefully. "That's right, kid. I came from a faraway land to look for you and your mother. I want to help you get out of this poverty," said the old man, placing a warm but rough hand on Aladdin's shoulder. The touch seemed to calm Aladdin's heart, which was full of questions. The old man then began to tell about his childhood with Aladdin's father. He talked about the adventures they had, the places they visited, and the hardships they faced together. Aladdin, who had always been curious about his father's life, listened attentively. Every word from the old man seemed to make him feel closer to the father figure he never really knew. "Aladdin," said the old man then, "I know that your life right now is not easy. I can see that you have great potential, and I want to help you achieve a better life. However, for that, you must follow my instructions." Aladdin, who had always dreamed of a better life, was attracted by the old man's offer. However, he also felt a little doubtful. How could an uncle he had just met suddenly offer such a big favor? Seeing the doubt on Aladdin's face, the old man said, "If you don't believe me, I won't force you. But, no, this opportunity may only come once in a lifetime. I know where you can find a treasure that will let you and your mother live comfortably forever." Treasure? Aladdin's eyes lit up at that word. Images of a better life with his mother began to fill his mind. He imagined a bigger house, better food, and decent clothes. Perhaps, with that treasure, he could even become a respected figure in Agrabah. The old man nodded. "Yes, treasure. But you have to go with me out of town tomorrow morning. I will show you the way to a secret cave, which can only be opened with a special spell. There, hidden treasures that are priceless. But only you can enter it." Aladdin became increasingly curious. "Why can only I enter?" he asked. The old man answered in a mysterious tone, "There is something special about you, Aladdin. You are the chosen one. The cave has a magic that will only respond to someone who has a pure heart like you. You can take the treasure out, and after that we can share the profits." Hearing the old man's explanation, Aladdin began to believe. Even though the man was a stranger, there was something that made him want to believe. In his heart, he imagined how happy his mother would be if he succeeded in bringing home abundant wealth. This could be the answer to all the difficulties they have been facing. "Okay, Uncle. I will come tomorrow morning and go with you," said Aladdin finally. The old man smiled broadly. "Good, my son. Don't tell anyone about this, including your mother. This is our secret. See you tomorrow morning at the city gates." With those words, the old man handed Aladdin a piece of red cloth as a sign. "Bring this. Tomorrow, when you see me at the city gates, show me this cloth as a sign that you are ready to start your adventure." Aladdin received the cloth enthusiastically. He put the cloth under his clothes, then nodded at the old man before rushing home. All the way home, he imagined the treasure he would find. He imagined his new life, a life where he and his mother could live without worrying about food or shelter. However, behind his hopes and dreams, Aladdin didn't realize one thing. The old man was actually an evil wizard who had a bad plan. The witch had been looking for a long time for someone who could help her retrieve a magical object hidden in the cave. The object is a magic lamp, which has the power to summon a mighty genie who can grant all the wishes of its owner. However, the cave has magical powers that can only be entered by someone with a pure heart and innocent soul. The witch knew that she could not enter the cave herself, because her soul was full of bad intentions and greed. He needs someone who has a pure heart, someone who does not suspect his evil intentions. After searching for a long time, he finally found Aladdin. A young man who looks simple but has a sincere heart, even though his life is filled with difficulties. Aladdin is the right person, the person he can use to achieve his goals. That night, Aladdin came home full of hope. When he arrived home, his mother greeted him with a gentle smile, even though she knew that Aladdin had not brought anything home. They had dinner together with what was left in the house, just some bread and simple soup. However, Aladdin feels that this will probably be their last dinner in poverty. He kept thinking about the adventure he would start tomorrow morning with the old man who claimed to be his uncle. Before sleeping, Aladdin took out the red cloth given by the old man. He looked at her expectantly, feeling that his life was about to change. He gripped the cloth tightly and lay on his bed, imagining the treasure he would soon find. In his heart, he felt that tomorrow would be the beginning of a better life. However, beyond his knowledge, the old man, the evil wizard, is also preparing to carry out his plan. With a sly smile on his face, he thought about how he would use Aladdin to get the magic lamp. Without a trace of guilt, the wizard planned how he would just leave Aladdin in the cave after he got what he wanted. The night passed, and Aladdin fell asleep, with a heart full of dreams and hopes. However, he did not realize that fate had prepared an adventure much greater than he had imagined. An adventure full of danger, wonder, and choices that will test his courage and sincerity. In the cold and silent darkness of the cave, Aladdin sat silently, feeling hopeless. His heart was full of disappointment and fear, realizing that the old man he thought was his uncle was actually a fraud who deliberately left him in this cave. Aladdin tightly grasped the old lamp he had taken, the only thing now in his hands. He didn't know what to do. The exit was closed, and no one knew that he was trapped inside here. After a while, his feelings of panic and despair began to turn into frustration. In despair, Aladdin looked at the dull lamp in his hand, feeling angry with himself for believing in the old man's ruse. Inadvertently, he started rubbing the lamp, trying to clean off a bit of dust and rust stuck to its surface. Suddenly, a miraculous event occurred. From within the seemingly worthless lamp, thick bluish smoke emerged that swirled in the air. The smoke grew bigger and gathered, until finally it formed a large figure, a giant genie who looked full of power and strength. The genie wore luxurious, colorful clothes, with large gold bracelets around his wrists. His face was full of expression, but not scary. Instead, he seemed to be smiling broadly, with eyes shining with enthusiasm. Aladdin was shocked and took a few steps back. He had never seen anything so magical in his life. The genie looks very real, but also like a creature from another world. In a loud and deep voice, the genie said, "Greetings, Master. I am the genie of this magic lamp, and I will grant you 3 wishes. Whatever you wish, sir, will come true at my command." Aladdin still couldn't believe what he saw and heard. He stared at the genie with his mouth agape, not yet completely convinced that all this was not a dream. After a while, he realized that this genie might be his only hope of getting out of this cave. With a voice that was still a little shaky, Aladdin dared to speak. You will really grant my wish? So, I can ask for anything?" The genie nodded confidently. "That's right, sir. You have 3 wishes. Say what you want, and I will make it come true. No matter how big or impossible the request is, I have the power to make it happen." Aladdin felt both relieved and amazed. He didn't want to waste this opportunity, so he quickly stated his first request. "Okay, if you can really grant my wish, then I want you to take me out of this cave. I want to be in a safe place outside this cave that confines me." The genie smiled and snapped his fingers. In an instant, Aladdin felt his body lighten, and before he was fully aware, he found himself outside the cave, back under the bright blue sky. He was standing in a wide expanse of desert, far from the cave where he was trapped. Aladdin felt the warm desert breeze on his face, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, he was free. With feelings of gratitude, Aladdin looked at the magic lamp he was still holding. He realized that this simple object actually had extraordinary power. Without realizing it, he smiled and looked at the genie who was still standing beside him. "Thank you, Gene. "You saved me from that place," said Aladdin sincerely. The genie returned Aladdin's smile and bowed respectfully. "Sir, I am happy to serve you. You still have 2 more requests. Remember that I will always be ready to grant whatever you wish." Aladdin thought for a moment. Now he has powers he never imagined before. With the 2 remaining wishes, he can change his life to be what he has always dreamed of. However, for now, he felt quite grateful to be free from that terrible cave. He wanted to return home, see his mother, and tell her about the adventure he had just experienced. Aladdin then decided to keep the magic lamp safely. He realized that this lamp was a very valuable object, and that the genie's power in it could be a way to achieve a better life for himself and his mother. Excited, Aladdin returns to the city, with the genie accompanying him in a magic lamp. Along the way home, Aladdin never stopped thinking about the big plans he could make happen with the help of the genie. He envisions a more prosperous life, a comfortable place to live, and a brighter future. In his heart, he felt happiness that he had never felt before. Not only because he has extraordinary power in his hands, but also because he knows that his life is now on a different path, a path full of new possibilities and hopes. Aladdin arrived home with a heart full of enthusiasm. His mother was surprised to see him come home with a big smile and sparkling eyes. "Aladdin, you look different today." "What is it?" his mother asked, looking at Aladdin lovingly. Aladdin just smiled. He knew that his mother was not ready to hear the magical story he had just experienced. So, he decided to keep the secret about the genie and the magic lamp for a while planning how he would use his wish wisely. With a magic lamp in his hand and 2 remaining wishes, Aladdin feels that this is just the beginning of his magical journey. A few days after Aladdin used a magic lamp to get out of the cave, his life in the city of Agrabah changed little by little. Now he has a little money and some valuables, the result of the help of a genie who was friends with him. Even though he can ask the genie for anything, Aladdin still chooses to live simply. He knows that wealth and luxury may only be temporary if he is not wise in using these powers. However, behind all that, Aladdin has a bigger dream, a dream of love and happiness. One fine morning, when the sun had just risen, Aladdin decided to take a walk in the city market. The market was full of busy sounds from traders selling their wares. The aroma of spices and fresh fruit fills the air, making the market atmosphere lively and colorful. Aladdin walked among the crowd, enjoying the view and atmosphere of the always busy city. In the midst of his busy life, Aladdin accidentally saw a very beautiful young woman who was walking in the market with an old woman who looked like her servant or bodyguard. The woman had smooth and radiant skin, long and thick black hair, and large and alluring eyes. Her clothes were different from those around her, made of fine sky blue cloth, decorated with small sparkling jewels. Behind its simple appearance, there is an aura of luxury that cannot be hidden. Aladdin felt as if time stopped for a moment when he looked at the woman. He had never seen someone so beautiful and graceful in his life. His heart was pounding, and he felt that there was something special about this woman. He immediately realized that this woman was definitely not an ordinary person. Could she be a princess? The woman turned out to be Princess Jasmine, daughter of the Sultan of Agrabah. All this time, he lived in the palace, almost never going out. However, that day, Princess Jasmine decided to go to the market, disguised as a commoner so she could see firsthand the lives of the people. Princess Jasmine is known as a kind and curious princess. He always longed for freedom, wanted to experience life outside the luxurious but full of restrictions palace walls. Without realizing it, Aladdin began to observe Princess Jasmine's every move with deep curiosity. He saw Princess Jasmine stop at one of the fruit stalls, observing the apples being sold. With a gentle smile, Princess Jasmine asked the seller for the price of the fruit. Aladdin watched their conversation, and he could feel the sincerity in the way Princess Jasmine spoke. Even though he looked like an ordinary person, his way of speaking was full of subtlety and elegance, making Aladdin even more fascinated. However, when Princess Jasmine was about to give him money to buy apples, she realized that she didn't bring enough money. Aladdin, who saw this incident, felt moved. Without thinking, he approached the apple seller and handed him coins to pay for the apples. "Here, I'll pay," said Aladdin with a friendly smile. Princess Jasmine looked surprised but smiled gently at him. "Thank you, that was very kind of you," he said as he accepted the apple. His voice was soft and calm, filled with gratitude. Aladdin felt that the sound was like a beautiful melody that touched his heart. "No need for thanks. Isn't this market a place to help each other?" Aladdin replied casually, trying to hide his nervousness. Princess Jasmine smiled again, this time with a little laugh. "You are right. Sometimes I forget how friendly the people outside the palace are." Hearing the word palace, Aladdin became increasingly convinced that this woman was not an ordinary person. He was curious, but didn't want to ask too many questions. Instead, he tried to make light conversation. "I am Aladdin, a young man who lives in this city. Pleased to meet you." Princess Jasmine hesitated for a moment, but she felt comfortable with Aladdin. There was something honest and sincere about this young man that made him feel safe. "Nice to meet you too, Aladdin. My name is Jasmine," she said, not mentioning her title as princess. The two then walked together in the market, talking to each other about various things. Aladdin tells about his life in Agrabah, how he often wanders around the market and goes on adventures around the city. Meanwhile, Jasmine listened attentively, feeling amazed and a little jealous of the freedom Aladdin had. For him, life in the palace was often boring and full of rules. He wants to feel the freedom as described by Aladdin, walking around without an escort and enjoying the beauty of the outside world without burden. During the conversation, Jasmine also told a little about her life without mentioning that she was a princess. He talks about his desire to be free, to make his own choices, and to live the way he wants. Aladdin listened attentively, and he felt that Jasmine was someone who was completely different from the other women he had ever met. They continued walking through the market, occasionally laughing together when they saw funny things around them. Aladdin felt increasingly comfortable with Jasmine, and he felt that he could be himself when he was around her. Likewise with Jasmine, who felt as if she had found a new friend, someone who understood what she felt. However, their moment of happiness did not last long. Suddenly, there was a scream from a soldier wearing royal armor. The soldiers guarding the market seemed to recognize Jasmine, even though she was disguised. They immediately approached Princess Jasmine with serious expressions. "Princess, the Sultan has been looking for you." "Why did you leave the palace without an escort?" exclaimed one of the soldiers in a worried tone. Hearing the call, Aladdin was surprised. He did not expect that the woman he had been talking to was a princess, Princess Jasmine, whom he had only heard about from folk tales. His heart pounded, feeling a mixture of awe and disbelief. Jasmine, who can no longer hide her identity, looks at Aladdin with a little guilt. "Aladdin, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hide it from you," Jasmine said in a regretful tone. "I just want to feel free for a moment, to be an ordinary person and see life outside the palace." Aladdin smiled understandingly. "It's okay, Jasmine, or I mean, Princess. I understand. Everyone has the right to feel freedom, even princesses." The soldiers then begged Princess Jasmine to immediately return to the palace. Jasmine stared at Aladdin for a moment, seeming reluctant to part. However, he knew that he had to follow the soldiers who had picked him up. "Thank you, Aladdin. Thank you for giving me a wonderful experience today. I hope we can meet again one day," Jasmine said with a gentle smile before she finally left with the soldiers. Aladdin could only see her from a distance. His feelings were mixed between happiness because he got to know Princess Jasmine and sadness because they had to part so quickly. That brief encounter left a deep mark in his heart. He knew that this feeling that emerged in his heart was not an ordinary feeling. In just a short time, Princess Jasmine had become a special figure to him. When Princess Jasmine disappeared from his sight, Aladdin stood in the middle of the busy market again. He looked at the towering palace in the distance, imagining Jasmine, who had now returned to her life behind the palace walls, which were majestic but full of restrictions. In his heart, Aladdin promised himself that one day he would meet Princess Jasmine again. No matter how difficult the road is, he wants to win the heart of the princess who stole his heart. Their brief meeting was the beginning of Aladdin's big dream of being able to live with Princess Jasmine, a dream which has now become his main goal. And with that determination, Aladdin left the market, walking home while thinking about plans for his future. After his brief meeting with Princess Jasmine at the market, Aladdin felt that his life was no longer the same. His heart always remembered the soft smile and cheerful laughter of the princess, a graceful figure who had stolen his attention from the first sight. However, as time went by, he realized how difficult it was for an ordinary young man like him to approach a princess. Jasmine is not an ordinary girl. He is the son of the Sultan, heir to the kingdom of Agrabah, and lives in a palace environment full of restrictions and protocols. Aladdin began to feel that the distance between himself and Princess Jasmine was so big. Days passed, but Aladdin's feelings for Jasmine grew stronger. He couldn't forget that meeting, couldn't ignore the desire to be close to Jasmine again. He knew that as long as he remained a poor young man from Agrabah, there would be no way to gain a place in the princess's heart. This made him think hard and formulate a plan. In that moment of confusion, he suddenly remembered the magic lamp that had changed his life. The lamp is still stored safely at his house. Aladdin realizes that he still has 2 wishes left, and that magic may be his only hope of achieving his dream. With renewed enthusiasm, Aladdin decides to use the second wish, a wish that can bring him closer to Princess Jasmine. Aladdin gripped the lamp tightly, then rubbed it gently. In an instant, swirling blue smoke appeared, and from within the smoke, a big, brave and smiling genie reappeared. The genie looked as enthusiastic as ever, and his deep voice echoed in the small room of Aladdin's house. "Mr. Aladdin, you have summoned me again," Genie said in a cheerful voice. "Would you like to convey your second wish?" "I am ready to serve." Aladdin nodded with full confidence. "Yes, Genie. I want to use my second wish now. Great. So, what do you want this time? Jean asked with a big smile. Aladdin took a deep breath, then spoke firmly. I want to be a prince. Jean was silent for a moment, then nodded in understanding. He knew the reason behind Aladdin's request. As a prince, Aladdin will have the opportunity to meet Princess Jasmine at the palace, have enough honor to approach the princess, and, perhaps, win her heart. The genie smiled knowingly, then replied, a very wise request, Mr. Aladdin. So, get ready to change. With graceful movements of his hands, Genie began to prepare a miracle to turn Aladdin into a prince. In an instant, Aladdin felt his body covered by extraordinary energy. His old, shabby clothes changed into a magnificent purple and blue silk robe decorated with sparkling gold jewels. He wore a beautiful turban with a large jewel on the front and a long coat that hung down to the ground. His simple leather shoes gave way to shoes decorated with gold embroidery. In an instant, Aladdin changed from an ordinary young man to a handsome and dashing prince. However, Genie didn't just change his appearance. Genie also created a large entourage to add a luxurious impression to Aladdin's figure. With one movement of his hand, a line of camels, horses, servants, and bodyguards appeared ready to accompany Aladdin. They all wore luxurious clothes and looked very well trained. Not only that, Genie also created a magnificent carriage decorated with gold and jewels, which will be Aladdin's official vehicle as a prince. Now, Mr. Aladdin, said the genie with a proud smile, you are no longer Aladdin, the poor young man from Agrabah. From today, you are Prince Ali of the land of Ababwa. You will enter a city of unparalleled splendor and glory. The Sultan and Princess Jasmine will definitely be impressed by your presence. Aladdin was amazed by his new appearance. He looked at himself in a small mirror in his house and almost didn't recognize his own face. He looked so different, dashing, handsome, and elegant, like a true prince. Aladdin felt confidence growing within him. Now he feels he has a real chance to meet Jasmine and show her who he is. The genie indicated that Aladdin should immediately go to the palace. With a large entourage and a magnificent carriage, they began to move towards Agrabah. Along the road to the palace, people gathered to see the procession of this foreign prince. They were amazed by the luxury brought by Prince Ali and admired views they had never seen before. Aladdin felt a little nervous, but also full of enthusiasm. For him, this was the big moment he had been waiting for. When Prince Ali's convoy arrived in front of the palace gates, the guard soldiers, who were usually very alert, were shocked. They had never seen a procession as large and magnificent as this. With respect, they opened the way for Aladdin's entourage and invited the prince into the palace grounds. The Sultan, who heard the news about the arrival of a prince from a distant country, immediately came out to welcome this special guest. Princess Jasmine, who was also curious, accompanied her father on the palace balcony, observing the figure of the prince walking confidently in the sunlight. Aladdin strode forward confidently, accompanied by a genie disguised as a servant. When he stood before the Sultan, he bowed respectfully and introduced himself. "Greetings, Your Majesty the Sultan," said Aladdin in a firm but polite voice. "My name is Prince Ali from the land of Ababwa. I came to Agrabah to introduce myself and offer friendship between our countries." Besides, he glanced briefly at Jasmine, then continued, "I heard that this country has a princess who is famous for her beauty and kind heart. I hope to have the opportunity to get to know him." The Sultan, impressed by Aladdin's appearance and attitude, smiled kindly. "Welcome, Prince Ali. We are honored to receive your visit. Princess Jasmine is indeed here, and if you wish, you can get to know her better." Hearing that, Aladdin's heart pounded. He felt very happy because the Sultan easily gave him permission to get to know Princess Jasmine. In his heart, he promised to show that he was someone worthy of the princess, even though behind his appearance as a prince, he was just an ordinary young man. Princess Jasmine watched Aladdin carefully. He felt there was something strange and familiar about this prince. Her face looked like a face he had seen before, although now covered in much more luxurious clothes and appearance. However, Jasmine tried to brush off those feelings and opened herself up to getting to know Aladdin as Prince Ali. Throughout the day, Aladdin spends time in the palace, talking with the Sultan and Princess Jasmine, showing his friendly and caring attitude. He tells stories about the fictional country of Ababwa, creating memorable adventure stories. Jasmine was impressed by the friendliness and honesty seen in Aladdin's eyes, even though there was still a small doubt in her heart. However, Aladdin knew that he had to be careful. Even though he had managed to enter the palace and talk to Jasmine, he still had to win her heart. He hoped that the feelings he had would be conveyed sincerely to the princess. Behind the title Prince Ali, Aladdin is still a simple young man, but has sincere love for Jasmine. When night fell, Aladdin left the palace with a heart full of hope. He feels that the initial steps are going smoothly, but he knows that the journey to winning Princess Jasmine's heart is still long. However, with Genie's help, courage and sincerity, Aladdin feels ready to face all challenges for the sake of his love for the princess. With the moon shining in the Agrabah sky, Aladdin returns to his home, making plans for the next day. In his heart, he is determined to continue fighting, because for Aladdin, love and happiness. True love is something worth fighting for, even if he has to be a prince to get it. Aladdin has successfully entered the Agrabah palace disguised as Prince Ali from the land of Ababwa. With Jin's help and his majestic appearance, he managed to get the Sultan's attention and the opportunity to get to know Princess Jasmine better. However, after several days passed, Aladdin began to feel the pressure and challenges that came with his new identity. Behind the friendly smiles of the palace residents, there are suspicious looks and signs of disapproval from some people, especially Jafar, the Sultan's cunning and ambitious advisor. Jafar is a secretive figure, with hidden goals that are always related to his personal ambition to control the palace. Since he first saw Prince Ali's arrival, he felt something was strange. To him, Aladdin looked too young and cheerful to be a prince who came from a distant land. As an advisor who has great power in the palace, Jafar feels the need to find out Prince Ali's true background. One morning, while Aladdin was walking in the palace gardens with Princess Jasmine, Jafar and his pet bird, Iago, watched them from the window of his study in the tower. The clever and cunning parrot immediately felt his master's annoyance. "Jafar, I can't believe you're just standing here doing nothing," said Iago in his characteristic grumbling voice. "This prince must be keeping secrets. Just look at the way he talks to Princess Jasmine. I'm sure he's not a real prince." Jafar smiled slyly as he stroked his long beard. "You're right, Iago. There is something very strange about this young man. Where did it come from? A Babwa state? Never heard before. And her looks, too perfect." Jafar paused for a moment, then in a lower voice, he continued, I must know who he really is. Meanwhile, in the palace garden, Aladdin and Jasmine are talking. Jasmine feels increasingly attracted to Aladdin, or Prince Ali, who is always sincere and caring. However, even though they chatted comfortably, Jasmine couldn't shake the feeling that there was something she knew about Prince Ali, something that made her feel strange. Behind the splendor and wealth of this prince, Jasmine felt that there was a simple and innocent side that she had seen in a young man she met at the market. "Ali," Jasmine said carefully, "you are different from other princes who have come to the palace. Most of them talk about their wealth or power. But you are simpler, more humble." Aladdin smiled, even though he felt a little nervous. "I just want to be myself, Jasmine. I feel you deserve someone who loves you for who you are, not because of their status or wealth." Jasmine smiled faintly, but in her heart, the doubt grew bigger. "If that's true, Ali, then I want you to be more honest with me. I want to know who you really are." Jasmine's question made Aladdin silent for a moment. His heart was in turmoil. He knows that Jasmine is someone who can understand and accept him as he is. However, he also felt afraid to reveal his true identity. He was worried that Jasmine would be disappointed to find out that he was not a real prince, but just a poor young man from Agrabah. At that time of doubt, a palace servant came who called Aladdin to meet the Sultan in the meeting room. Aladdin said goodbye to Jasmine and immediately went to meet the Sultan. When he arrived at the meeting room, he found the Sultan and Jafar waiting. The Sultan welcomed Aladdin with a friendly smile. "Prince Ali, nice to see you again. We want to talk about the possibility of an arranged marriage between you and Princess Jasmine." Aladdin felt nervous hearing this conversation, but before he could answer, Jafar interrupted in a soft but sarcastic tone. "I'm sorry, Your Majesty," he said, glancing sharply at Aladdin. "However, as a royal advisor, I feel the need to ensure that Prince Ali is worthy of being part of our family." Aladdin looked at Jafar, feeling the old man's cold and suspicious gaze. "Of course, Jafar. I really respect this honor and I am willing to show my commitment to Princess Jasmine." Jafar smiled faintly and said, "Okay, Prince Ali. In this case, perhaps it would be wise if we could find out more about your home country, Ababwa. I've never heard of that country before, and it would certainly be interesting to know more about the future members of our royal family." Aladdin increasingly feels cornered. He does not have enough knowledge or background about the fictional country of Ababwa that Jinn created for him. He felt confused and afraid of making a mistake, so Jafar became increasingly suspicious of him. However, Aladdin tried to remain calm and answered simply, trying to divert the conversation. "The state of Ababwa is a state far from here, and small compared to Agrabah. Our country may not be famous, but its people are full of love and peace," Aladdin answered carefully. However, Jafar did not just accept that answer. With a sly smile, he said, "Prince Ali, maybe one day you can take us to visit Ababwa. I'm sure the Sultan and Princess Jasmine will definitely want to see your peaceful place of origin." The Sultan laughed happily, unaware of Jafar's hidden intentions. "That's right, Jafar. I hope to see the beauty of the country of Ababwa that Prince Ali told about." Aladdin could only smile and nod, even though in his heart he was afraid. It's clear that Jafar won't stop suspecting him and will continue to look for ways to take him down. Aladdin knows that his fake identity could be exposed at any time if Jafar continues to investigate. After the meeting, Jafar decided to devise another plan to reveal Prince Ali's secret. He felt something was suspicious and was sure that Aladdin was keeping a big secret. Jafar summons Iago and gives him orders to watch Aladdin more closely, ensuring that his every move is followed. Not only that, Jafar is also planning something more sinister. Secretly, he cast a magic spell to find out the whereabouts of the legendary magic lamp, because he suspected that Prince Ali might have something related to magical powers. Jafar had long heard tales of a magical lamp that had a mighty genie inside, and he knew that if he could get his hands on the lamp, it would have unlimited power. Meanwhile, Aladdin returned to his room feeling restless. He felt that his time with Jasmine was increasingly limited, and that Jafar could reveal his identity at any time. He felt trapped. On the one hand, he wanted to be honest with Jasmine, but on the other hand, he was afraid of losing the opportunity to be with the girl he loved. In the silence of the night, Aladdin sat contemplating, hoping there was a way out of this difficult situation. Outside his room, the palace soldiers and Jafar's bodyguards kept an eye on his every move, making sure that they could report anything suspicious to Jafar. Aladdin feels that he must act immediately before Jafar reveals his secret to the Sultan or Jasmine. Without realizing it, that night was the beginning of a big problem that would test his courage, ingenuity, and sincerity. In the midst of all the challenges and pressure he faces in the palace, Aladdin only has one goal: to win Jasmine's heart and prove that true love is more valuable than status or wealth. However, he also knows that the road to happiness will be full of obstacles and threats from people who want to destroy him. Day by day, Aladdin felt more and more pressure from the palace. Jafar's suspicions continue to grow, and Aladdin knows that he has little time before his true identity is revealed. His every move was watched, and he knew that Jafar would not stop until he discovered the secret he had been hiding. Jafar's determination to reveal who Aladdin really is not just because of suspicion. Jafar wants to take advantage of the situation to achieve his personal ambitions. One night, when Aladdin was in his room, he heard the sound of soft footsteps but approaching the door. The door opened, and someone slipped in. Aladdin was surprised to see that it was Princess Jasmine, who came with a face full of worry. "Ali," Jasmine whispered, "there's something I want to tell you. Jafar has been doing strange things lately. He sent spies to watch your every move, and I heard whispers of an evil plan." Aladdin sighed, feeling guilty because he had been hiding his identity from Jasmine all this time. However, at that time he had no other choice. "Thank you, Jasmine," said Aladdin softly. "I also feel that Jafar has bad intentions. I will be careful." After Jasmine left, Aladdin sat alone, thinking about all the problems he was facing. He realizes that to protect Jasmine and the people of Agrabah, he must find a way to fight Jafar. However, he knew that Jafar was no ordinary opponent. Jafar has knowledge of magic, and his magical powers far surpass those of Aladdin, unless he remembers something. Magic lamp. There is a genie there who can help him. Aladdin took out the magic lamp from its hiding place and rubbed it. A mighty genie appeared, swirling in blue smoke, and stood before him with a wide smile. "Mr. Aladdin," he greeted enthusiastically. "It's been a long time since you called me. Would you like to make you a third wish?" Aladdin looked at Genie seriously. "Yes, Genie. I need your help to face Jafar. He tried to take over the palace and rule Agrabah." Genie nodded thoughtfully. "I know Jafar is not an easy opponent, sir. What do you want to ask for?" Aladdin thought for a moment, then said firmly, I want Jafar defeated. I want Agrabah to be free from his rule, and I want Jasmine and the people of Agrabah to be safe from the dangers that will come. Jinn looked hesitant for a moment, then he said, I can help, sir. But to defeat a wizard as powerful as Jafar, you must use your final wish very carefully. Wizards seem to be able to find ways to dodge ordinary attacks. Aladdin looked at Jinn with confidence. I understand. Then, Jinn, I ask you, give me the strength and the means to defeat Jafar. That's my third request. Jinn smiled, then snapped his fingers. In an instant, Aladdin felt extraordinary power flowing into his body. Jinn gave him strength, courage, and a plan to face Jafar in a way he never thought possible. The next day, when Jafar was in the palace meeting room with the Sultan and high-ranking officials, Aladdin arrived full of confidence, still in his identity as Prince Ali. He faced the Sultan politely, then said, Your Majesty Sultan, there is something I must say. The Sultan, unaware of what was going on behind the scenes, just smiled and listened. However, before Aladdin could speak further, Jafar interrupted with a sly smile on his face. Oh, Prince Ali, he said with a sneer, you might want to be careful what you say. What if the truth about your origins is revealed? Aladdin looked at Jafar sharply. Jafar, enough of these games. I know you have evil intentions and are trying to usurp the Sultan's power. Today, the truth will come out. Jafar laughed sarcastically. You think you can beat me? You are just a naive youngster, and I have much more power than you. Quickly, Jafar picked up his wand and began chanting. In an instant, the room was filled with a dark aura, and the power of magic began to swirl around Jafar. He used the power of his staff to create illusions and confuse the Sultan and the officials. However, Aladdin was ready. He takes out the ring Jinn gave him, which now has the power to protect him from Jafar's magic. When Jafar tried to attack with his magical powers, Aladdin swiftly dodged and fought back. The fight was fierce. Jafar unleashes a variety of magical attacks, from burning fire to misleading illusions. However, Aladdin uses the courage and strength given by the genie to resist every attack. He dodged nimbly, twisted and jumped, making Jafar even more angry and frustrated. Seeing that his magic attacks were not working, Jafar began to change tactics. He knows that the genie's power is in the magic lamp, and he tries hard to snatch the lamp from Aladdin. Using trickery, Jafar tries to approach Aladdin and steal the lamp. However, Aladdin didn't want to be careless. He knows that Jafar wants to master the lamp to take control of the genie, so he keeps the lamp out of Jafar's reach. However, in one unexpected moment, Jafar managed to snatch the lamp from Aladdin's hand. With a triumphant smile, Jafar rubbed the lamp, and the mighty genie appeared before him again. Genie looked doubtful, looking at Aladdin with pity. However, as a genie bound to the lamp, he has no choice but to serve its new owner. Jafar laughed menacingly. Now, I am the owner of this lamp, and I will be the ruler of the whole world. Jinn, I want to become the strongest magician in the entire world. Jinn, although reluctant, must fulfill Jafar's request. In an instant, incredible power poured into Jafar's body. He transformed into a larger figure, with eyes glowing red and a body covered in a terrifying dark aura. Now, Jafar has truly become an unstoppable threat. However, Aladdin was not afraid. He knows Jaffar's weaknesses, greed and excessive ambition. Cleverly, Aladdin lures Jafar into wanting more than just a wizard. Jafar, you are strong, but you will never be a genie like the genie from the magic lamp. Jinn is greater than any magician. Jafar, with his great pride, is tempted by Aladdin's words. Alright, then, Jinn, my last request. I want to be the strongest genie in the world. Jinn looked at Aladdin and blinked, as if understanding Aladdin's plan. He snapped his fingers, and in an instant, Jafar turned into a giant genie with extraordinary strength. However, there is one thing that Jafar is not aware of. As a genie, he must also live in a lamp and be bound to its owner. As soon as Jafar turns into a genie, a small black lamp appears in his hand, and a magical force pulls him into the lamp. He is trapped inside, unable to get out or use his powers, a prisoner of his own demands. Aladdin smiled in relief to see that his plan had succeeded. He picks up the black lamp that Jafar was trapped in and gives the lamp to his genie. Jinn smiled gratefully at Aladdin. Thank you, Lord Aladdin. You have saved Agrabah, Jinn said sincerely. With Jafar now trapped as a genie in a lamp, the threat to Agrabah is finally over. The Sultan, who witnessed all these events, now realizes Aladdin's courage and sincerity. On the other hand, even though the atmosphere was so happy, Aladdin's heart was full of anxiety. He knew that this victory not only showed his courage, but also demanded the truth. He realized that his identity as Prince Ali could no longer be hidden. In his battle against Jafar, he has shown who he really is, an ordinary young man who comes from a simple neighborhood in Agrabah. With courage and honesty, Aladdin looked Jasmine and the Sultan in the eyes. Your Majesty and Jasmine, he said in a firm but gentle voice, there is something I must tell you. I'm not Prince Ali. I'm just Aladdin, a simple young man from Agrabah. I disguised myself as a prince so I could get close to Jasmine. The Sultan was surprised to hear the confession, but a look full of wisdom appeared in his eyes. On the other hand, Jasmine looked at Aladdin with eyes full of mixed feelings. For a moment, the atmosphere was silent, and only the sound of the night breeze could be heard on the palace balcony. Finally, Jasmine stepped forward, approaching Aladdin. Aladdin, is everything you do to win my heart? He asked in a soft voice, but full of sincerity. Aladdin lowered his head, then said honestly, Yes, Jasmine. I never meant to deceive you. I just want to show that my love for you is sincere, even if I have to pretend to be a prince. I just want you to see me as someone worthy to accompany you. Hearing that answer, Jasmine felt her heart touched. Even though Aladdin hid his identity, he saw courage, honesty, and sincerity in this young man. Jasmine realized that true love does not look at wealth or status, but rather comes from the deepest sincerity of the heart. With a warm smile, he said, Aladdin, I see more than a prince in you. You are the one who sacrificed everything to protect me, the palace, and the people of Agrabah. You are the person I love, whatever your status. Sultan, who witnessed the emotional moment between Aladdin and Jasmine, was moved. He realized that his daughter had found true love, and that this young man deserved it. The Sultan smiled gently at Aladdin and Jasmine. Aladdin, you have proven yourself to be a hero for Agrabah. I will not oppose your love. You have a true heart, something more valuable than wealth or title. Starting today, you are part of our family. Aladdin was shocked to hear the Sultan's blessing. In his heart, he felt like his biggest dream had come true. Not because of the title or luxury, but because he had been accepted by a family he respected and loved by Jasmine, who had always been his dream. A few days later, the Palace of Agrabah holds a large celebration to honor Aladdin and celebrate the true love that grew between him and Princess Jasmine. People from all over the city came, bringing prayers and good wishes to the newly engaged couple. Aladdin and Jasmine, standing side by side in the palace, greet the people with smiles and happiness on their faces. Now, they are no longer hindered by status or wealth, but are united in sincere love. Beside them, Gene, now free from the bonds of the magic lamp, also attended the celebration with a face full of joy. He felt happy to see his friend find true happiness. Genie whispered to Aladdin, "I'm happy to see you happy, Al. You deserve all this. I just hope that you remember that even though I am no longer tied to the lamp, I will always be there for you as a friend." Aladdin patted Jin's shoulder and smiled warmly. "Thank you, Jin. Without you, I would not have been able to achieve all this. You're not just a friend, you're part of my family." When the sun sets and the sky of Agrabah is filled with starlight, Aladdin and Jasmine stand amidst the joyful crowd. They both felt genuine happiness, love that did not depend on luxury or status, but came from a pure heart. For them, sincere love is the most valuable treasure, more than all the riches and miracles that ever existed.